Minnesota has been lying to you. Not the people, they're genuinely nice. The land is the liar. 10,000 years, straight-faced. Cross the Mississippi River in 12 steps, then ride an elevator half a mile underground. Either the best road trip ever, or proof this geology has a personality disorder. The glaciers met and left Minnesota as their unfinished business drawer. Today, 10 places that rewrite everything you knew about Minnesota. Number 6, a 39-room mansion where guides had one rule for 40 years. Don't mention the murders. The daughter who ordered them walked free. Let's go. 1. Devil's Kettle Falls, Judge C.R. Magny State Park. We're starting with a waterfall that stumped science for 80 years. The Brule River splits around a rhyolite knob above the falls. The eastern cascade drops 50 feet and continues downstream. The western half plunges into a massive pothole and vanishes. No visible outlet, just a hole swallowing half a river. From 1937 to 2017, researchers threw everything at it. Logs, ping pong balls, dye packs, and GPS trackers. Nothing resurfaced. Theories range from lava tubes to the less than scientific. Fun fact, the DNR cracked it in 2017 using flow measurement. The water re-enters the river through the rock itself. No secret cavern, just a route too tight for ping pong balls, one of the longest standing hydrological mysteries in North America. Best in spring when the Brule runs high. 1.5 round trip, over 200 stairs, waterproof shoes, the mist soaks the lower platform. From a waterfall that hid its own river, we now climb to the point where Lake Superior demands your full attention. 2. Palisade Head, Tetagouche State Park. 300 feet above Lake Superior, a cliff so sheer that standing at its edge feels less like sightseeing and more like flight. Palisade Head is the tallest cliff on Lake Superior. Rhyolite from billion-year-old eruptions, carved by retreating glaciers. What makes it unique? The parking area sits at the cliff top. You arrive at altitude with no hiking required. Below, Superior stretches to the Canadian horizon. Climbers scale routes, the height of a 30-story building. Peregrine falcons nest at eye level. The viewing area has no guardrail by design. The DNR preserves the raw, unfiltered edge. Locals call it Hellacious Head. Free, open, year-round. Sunrise over the Minnesota North Shore fills the entire horizon with color. Arrive 30 minutes before dawn. From impossible height, we now trade vertical for horizontal. Our next location is the only national park in the lower 48, where the parking lot is a boat launch. 3. Voyageurs National Park, northern Minnesota. Every other national park rewards the road trip. Voyageurs National Park punishes it. 218,000 acres, more water than land, 4 major lakes, over 500 islands straddling the Canadian border. No scenic drives, no loop roads. You arrive by boat or float plane. Named for French-Canadian fur traders, but what makes it relevant today is after sunset. Voyageurs is an international dark sky park, and on certain nights, the aurora borealis reflects off the lake so intensely that the water glows green from below. Fun fact, most visitors explore by canoe, not car, one of the only national parks where that's true. Houseboat rentals book 6 months ahead. The aurora season is September through March. Bug spray is not optional. June mosquitoes are categorically aggressive. From a park that swallows light, we now travel back 7,000 years to a slab of rock where ancient hands left messages nobody has decoded. 4. Jeffers, Petroglyphs, Comfrey, Minnesota. In the middle of the Minnesota prairie, corn and soybeans in every direction. A single ridge of red Sioux quartzite holds 5,000 images carved by human hands, some older than Stonehenge. The carvings depict bison, thunderbirds, turtles, and handprints, pecked into rock with harder stones, the oldest dating to 5000 BC. The extraordinary part isn't the age, it's the continuity. This rock was used for 7,000 years by multiple cultures, Dakota, Cheyenne, and Iowa. Some petroglyphs align to solstice sunrises. Others mark where spirits were said to emerge from the stone. This is the only publicly accessible petroglyph site in Minnesota where carvings remain in their original outdoor setting. Still considered sacred, visitors are asked to walk quietly and never touch the rock face. Open May through September. Low-angle sunrise or sunset throws the carvings into sharp relief. Midday sun flattens them nearly to invisibility. From ancient stone, we now go underground to Minnesota's longest cave, hiding beneath farmland. where the tour begins with a warning about the dark. 5. Mystery Cave State Park. 13 miles of passages carved through 450-million-year-old limestone. Discovered by accident during a 1937 fishing trip. Minnesota caves don't get more extensive than this. Mystery Cave contains Turquoise Lake, a startlingly blue underground pool, and the Cathedral Room, where flowstone formations drape like frozen organ pipes. Other sections narrow to shoulder width, requiring single-file shuffles through passages that feel like the earth is closing in. Constant 48 degrees. Discoverer Joe Petty was fishing nearby when cold air rushed from a hole in the ground, the classic sign of a void. Fun fact, the pools are so clear that visitors mistake water for empty space. Ceiling reflections create a mirror illusion, and more than a few gasps interrupt tours when someone realizes the floor they're about to step onto isn't a floor. Standard tour, 1 hour, 1 mile. Wild caving tour, headlamps and undeveloped sections. Dress for 48 degrees regardless of surface temperature. From an underground mirror, we now surface into something darker. Our next stop is a mansion where the furniture is original, the gardens immaculate, and the murders changed Minnesota law forever. 6. Glensheen Mansion. Duluth, Minnesota, a 39-room Jacobean revival estate built in 1908 on 22 acres of Lake Superior shoreline. Chester Congdon, mining magnate, spared no expense. On June 27, 1977, Glensheen became the scene of Minnesota's most infamous double homicide. The sole remaining resident was Congdon's daughter Elizabeth, 83, in fragile health. Her adopted daughter's husband entered the mansion and murdered both Elizabeth and her night nurse. Motive? Inheritance. What followed was anything but straightforward. The adopted daughter, Marjorie, was convicted of conspiracy, overturned on appeal. Her husband, Roger, served 5 years before his conviction was also overturned on a search warrant technicality. He later died by suicide. No one served a full sentence. When the Glensheen Mansion opened for tours in 1979, guides were told never to mention the murders. That policy held for over 40 years. In 2018, the mansion launched true crime specialty tours that now sell out months in advance. Standard tours run daily. Full mansion covers all 4 floors, including the attic servant quarters. Book ahead, summer sells out. The grounds are free and among the most manicured public gardens in Minnesota. From a halls of power tragedy, we now trade the man-made for something elemental. An 18-foot wide stream with no business being famous except for one detail, it's the beginning of the Mississippi. 7. Lake Itasca State Park. The Mississippi River is 2,340 miles long, drains 31 states, and begins as a stream you cross barefoot in 12 steps. Lake Itasca, a modest 1.8 square mile glacial lake. At its outflow, placed boulders create a crossing where visitors wade through the infant Mississippi. The water is clear, cold, and 18 feet wide. The name Itasca was manufactured. Explorer Henry Rowe Schoolcraft coined it in 1832 from 2 Latin words, veritas and caput, true head. The Ojibwe called it Omashkuzo Zagaigan. Elk Lake. Fun fact, a single drop from this crossing takes 90 days to reach the Gulf of Mexico. The knee-deep stream becomes 600,000 cubic feet per second at New Orleans, a volume increase so staggering it barely registers as the same body of water. Open year-round. Short paved walk from the headwaters center. Go early. The stepping stones become a Disneyland queue by 10 a.m. From the river's first breath, we now travel to a quarry where the stone was sacred ground. Neutral territory where warring tribes laid down weapons for millennia because what came out of this earth was worth more than victory. 8. Pipestone National Monument. Pipestone, Minnesota. A soft red stone in southwest Minnesota, carvable with a pocket knife. For 3,000 years, tribes from across the continent traveled here to quarry it because this stone was worth more than gold. Pipestone National Monument preserves the active quarries where catlinite, a deep red metamorphic stone, has been extracted for ceremonial pipe making for millennia. The quarries sit in tall grass prairie crossed by Winnewissa Falls. What makes this site unique? It was universally neutral ground. Warring tribes set aside their conflicts at the quarry line. The stone belonged to no single nation. The red color carries a widespread origin story. The stone is made from the flesh and blood of ancestors. Today, only enrolled tribal members may quarry here. Catlinite forms in narrow seams between Sioux quartzite, a geological accident occurring almost nowhere else. The only significant North American deposit runs through this single county. The visitor center features native craftspeople actively carving pipes. Circle Trail, a 3/4 mile loop past the quarries and waterfall, open year-round. From Sacred Stone, we now descend half a mile into a place where the walls glow rust orange. The temperature never rises above 51, and for an improbable period, scientists fired particle beams from Chicago directly through the earth to this spot. 9. Soudan Underground Mine, Lake Vermilion, Soudan Underground Mine, State Park. You board a cage elevator, built to haul iron ore in 1924, and ride it 2,341 feet straight down into Precambrian bedrock. The deepest point accessible to the public in Minnesota. For 25 years, also been one of the most important physics laboratories in the world. The mine opened in 1882, produced high-grade iron ore for 80 years, and closed in 1962. But 2,341 feet of solid rock provides a near-perfect cosmic radiation shield. In the 1980s, Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory built a lab on the 27th level. The MINOS experiment fired a neutrino beam from Fermilab outside Chicago, 456 miles away, directly through the Earth to a detector in this mine. The neutrinos arrived in 2.5 milliseconds. Fun fact, the cage elevator drops at 500 feet per minute in near total darkness, guided by original 1924 hoisting equipment. The walls carry rust orange oxidation, rock 2.7 billion years old. Temperature, 51 degrees, year-round. Tours run late May through September, 90 minutes underground. Warm clothing is mandatory. Portions of the physics detector remain visible among the oldest accessible rock formations in the United States. From the deepest point in Minnesota, we now surface into the largest, 1 million acres of lakes linked by portage trails that predate European contact, where the only way in is to paddle. 10. Boundary, waters, canoe, area, wilderness, Superior National Forest. The Boundary Waters is the largest wilderness east of the Rockies and north of the Everglades, over 1 million acres, the most heavily visited wilderness in the United States, and yet accessible only by canoe. Over 1,200 miles of canoe routes, more than 1,000 lakes, 2,000 designated campsites, each reachable only by water. No roads, no motors, with limited exceptions. The portage trails follow routes used for centuries by the Ojibwe and later by the French-Canadian voyageurs. The lakes are carved into the Canadian Shield, ancient granite scraped bare by glaciers. On a clear night from the interior, the Milky Way casts visible shadows on the water. The Boundary Waters holds the largest wolf population in the contiguous United States. And a wolf pack howling across still water at dusk is one of the few things in modern America unchanged in 1,000 years. Overnight permits required. Entry points, book months ahead. First timers, hire an outfitter in Ely for canoes, gear, and route planning. Best months, September, no bugs, fall color. This is a place that demands respect and rewards the prepared explorer. If this video changed how you see Minnesota, hit like, subscribe for more unseen places, and comment which spot you'd visit first. If this video made you laugh, dream, or scream road trip, you will love the next video. Click here. The next wonder is one click away.